Hey everybody, welcome to Grace Students TV. We are so glad that you could tune in. Over the next couple of weeks during your extended break, we're going to be bringing you new content frequently, whether it's serious, whether it's funny, it's all got the intention of connecting with you. And so we want to make sure that we're staying connected with you and that you're staying connected with us and the rest of our Grace Students family, because we just want to make sure that even though we can't meet face to face, that we don't lose out on that connection. And so our hope is that you're continuing to meet with your Grace group, whether that's through a group chat or a group FaceTime, or maybe even meeting together in small groups. Our hope is that you can just stay connected with them one way or another. And so we would love to see you do that. If you don't have a group, our email is going to be in the description below. Make sure to send us an email so that we can get you connected with a group and so that we can stay connected in that way. We've also got a Spotify playlist in the description below. Make sure to check that out. It's going to have all of our worship songs for tonight, and it's also going to have our worship throughout the week. And so make sure that you have a chance to listen to that. Help it to fuel you. Help it to keep you connected to God in a different way. Even though we can't necessarily meet in the auditorium and listen to that together, that's still a way that we can all be listening and worshiping God together. And so in just a few moments, you're going to be able to see a message from Billy, who's going to be continuing our How to Get Right series. And so he's going to be talking about what it looks like for us to experience forgiveness, not just from God, but also with one another. What does it look like for us to forgive the person that we love or somebody that's hurt us? And so with that said, make sure to pause this video, grab a Bible, grab a pen, grab some journals or something like that, and make sure that you're just diving into what God is saying to you tonight. Even though we can't meet face to face, doesn't mean that you can't still be engaging with what he's saying to you. And so make sure to do that. And so why don't you check out this video.
What's up, Grace students? Billy Starkey here. Thanks for tuning in to Grace Students TV. Hey, just because we can't meet physically right now doesn't mean we shouldn't stay connected. And so we're doing everything we can over these next couple weeks while you're on this extended spring break to make sure that we stay connected with you. We hope that over that time you're reaching out to your group leader, your Grace group. Maybe you're doing some group FaceTime, some group chats. Maybe you're all meeting together at someone's house. Don't stop connecting just because we can't all meet together on a Sunday night. We're going to keep doing that. So last week we were in a series called How to Get Right. Sean kicked us off with this message about how we can get right with God through Jesus. He shared the good news that because Jesus paid the price for us, we can be forgiven and have a right relationship with God. And so that's where we've got to start. But today we're going to take it to another level because it's really, really hard to look to someone and say, I'm sorry. That's a really hard phrase to say. But maybe an even more difficult one is to look at someone who's hurt you and to say the phrase, I forgive you. You know, I wish it was as easy as it is for kids. I've got a bunch of nephews, and they're all like bulldozers. They're super physical, they're energetic, they're rambunctious, and they will go play outside, indoors, doesn't matter where it's at, and they're like knocking each other over, and eventually someone gets hurt, someone scuffs a knee, someone hurts their arm, and you've got some tears maybe. And I love watching the parents involved, the adults involved. You've seen this if you've ever babysat or if you've got little siblings. The adult in the room will get them together and they'll say, hey, you need to tell them that you're sorry. And they'll say it, I'm sorry. And then the next one says it, and you need to say, I forgive you. And they'll say, I forgive you. And then the adult will say, all right, now hug it out. And then they'll hug each other, and then it's like, okay, go on and play. And they just move on with life as if nothing ever happened. Wouldn't it be great if it was that easy for us? And the truth is, when someone's really hurt you, when someone has really taken advantage of you, when someone has mistreated you, when you've been betrayed by someone that you trusted, forgiveness is not so easy. So how do we forgive? What's it even look like to forgive someone who's really caused us pain? Well, the followers of Jesus, they were actually asking a really similar question. In fact, one of them in particular, his name was Peter, asked Jesus about this same exact idea. It's in Matthew 18, verse 21, we read this. It says, Then Peter came to Jesus and asked, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times? And Jesus replied, I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times. I love Peter's mindset. He's going to Jesus and saying, okay, if someone hurt me, should I forgive him like I don't know, like 7 times? I mean, that was a big number to him. Imagine forgiving someone 7 times for hurting you. Well, Jesus just elevates it like crazy. He says, don't just forgive 7 times, forgive 77 times. In fact, it really means 70 times 7 times. He's talking about 490 times you should forgive someone who's hurt you. And the idea here isn't that you should stop forgiving at 491 times. The idea is that you should always be ready to forgive someone who's hurt you. Jesus tells us why. He tells a story. You can read it in Matthew 18, but I'm just going to tell you the story. It's about a servant who owes his master a ton of money. In fact, it's like $10 million. And so the servant goes to the master, and the master's going to punish him for what he owes, but the servant begs for mercy. Hey, forgive me of this debt. I'll go get the money. I'll pay you back. And the master actually has mercy on him. And he says, go ahead, your debt is forgiven. Go live free. Well, this servant walks out of there forgiven. But what he immediately does is he goes and finds someone who owes him money, the equivalent of like $600, and he starts beating him up because of the money that he owes. Well, when the master finds out about this, he pulls that servant over and says, I've forgiven you of so much. How could you walk out and not forgive other people? And he throws him into prison. Jesus teaches this story to really teach us about an idea, and that idea is this, that forgiven people forgive people. Forgiven people should forgive people. If you've been forgiven, you should extend forgiveness to others. And so if we're going to do that, we've got to look at what forgiveness is and what it is not. And so here's the first thing forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's not just sweeping something under the rug, acting like it never happened, and just moving on with life. You can actually forgive someone, but choose to set up some boundaries in your life where your relationship has changed. You could forgive someone and maybe have them need to rebuild some trust in order to get things back to where they were before. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Let me give you a great example. If you have a boyfriend or girlfriend and they were to cheat on you, you might be able to forgive them for what they've done, but you also should definitely break up with them. Forgiving is not forgetting. Here's the second thing. Forgiving is also not fair. What would be fair is if someone hurt you, for you to be able to hurt them back. That's what we want to do, right? We want to give people what is fair. But Jesus said this. He said you should love your enemies and actually pray for those who hurt you. You might be thinking, yeah, I'll pray for them. I'll pray that they get hit by a bus. Like, we're not going to love them. Well, that's what Jesus says. He says we should pray for them and love the people who hurt us. That's totally unfair. Forgiveness is not fair at all, but here's the perspective for you to have. If you're a follower of Jesus, thank God that He wasn't fair to you. If He was fair to you, you might not be standing here today. But instead, God chose to be unfair to you by punishing Jesus in your place on the cross. Jesus took on the wrath and the justice of God, and God chose to be unfair to you and give you mercy and grace and forgiveness. So forgiveness is not forgetting, and it's also not fair. God has given you forgiveness, so here's what it is. Forgiveness is actually giving others what God has given to you. That's all it is. God has given you forgiveness, so you should extend the same forgiveness to other people. Think about it this way. The forgiveness of God does not just flow to you, it should actually flow through you. It should go from God to you, and then you should extend it to other people. So my question for you is, how's your flow? Are you blocking the flow of forgiveness, or are you letting it flow through you to other people around you? People will experience God's love through the way that you treat them. Forgiveness is not forgetting, it's not fair, it's giving others what God has given you. And here's the reality. God asks you to forgive not just for the other person's sake. It's not just so that they could be forgiven, so they could be healed, so they could experience freedom. He actually forgives you so that you could be set free. It kind of looks like this. When you choose not to forgive, you're carrying a lot of things in your life. It can be difficult to carry all the offenses and the things that have happened to you, and you sort of look like this. You can't really move forward. You don't have freedom in your life to move around, and you think okay, because they've hurt me, I'm just going to hold on to this thing. You might be holding on to something the other person has long forgotten about. When you hold on to it, you can't be free from it. It's like drinking a poison and expecting the other person to get hurt. That's not what happens. When you don't forgive, you suffer. You get hurt. You can't move forward. So here's what God wants you to do. He wants you to forgive so that you can be healed, so that you can be set free. It looks like this. You just let it go. Whatever it is, you choose to let it go and forgive the other person. And so you can write this down. You can trust that it's true. Here's a great idea for you to walk out of with tonight. Freedom is found on the other side of forgiveness. Freedom is found on the other side of forgiveness. When you forgive someone else, you get set free. And so here's my question. How much freedom do you desire? Usually we ask, how much forgiveness do they deserve? Switch your perspective. Instead ask, how free do I want to be? How much freedom do I desire? So here's what I want you to do tonight. I want you to take some time in your own heart and ask, who do I need to forgive? And then without even talking to the other person, just talk to God and say, God, I'm choosing to forgive that other person. I'm not going to hold it against them anymore. And then the great thing you can do is talk to your group leader, talk to me, talk to a parent, talk to a trusted friend about how you can take some next steps, maybe even to go to the other person. Maybe you'll never need to. Just know this, when you forgive, you get set free. Thanks for tuning in to Grace Students TV tonight. Make sure you turn on notifications for all of our posts because we're going to be in touch with you this whole entire extended break. And I hope you spend some time connecting with your Grace group right now. We'll see you next time.
Forgiven people, forgive people. That was the challenge that Billy gave us tonight. I hope that you live that out this week. However you're doing that, we want to hear about it. And so make sure to head to the description below, click on our email, and make sure to let us know what it is that God is doing in your heart. Tell us about what he's talking to you about, what he's teaching you, what you learned from tonight's message. Or you can also talk to your Grace group leader about it. But we want to hear whatever it is that God's doing in your life. Also, make sure to head to the description for that Spotify playlist I talked about earlier. The song Good Grace is a great one for us to stay connected and think about what it means to actually be forgiven and to live in community with one another. But in addition, make sure that you're staying in connection with your Grace groups. Even though we can't meet face to face, that's no excuse to be living alone and to be staying separated from everybody. And so make sure that whether it's through FaceTime or group chat, that you're staying connected with your Grace group family, because we want to see you guys continue to grow and continue to bond together throughout all of this. And over the next few weeks, we're going to be bringing you a bunch of different content. And one of the things that we want to be able to all do together is a reading plan. And so starting tomorrow, we're going to be starting off in the book of Mark, chapter 1. And so that's going to be Monday through Friday. We're going to read one chapter a day since we know that you guys have a ton of free time now. And so make sure just to start off with Mark chapter 1 and be ready to discuss it with your Grace group family. And if something speaks to you there, shoot us an email. Let us know. We want to connect with you. And so with that said, we love you guys. We cannot wait to be able to connect with you guys again face to face. But for right now, we are glad that we are able to meet through technology. And so make sure to tune back in regularly because we're going to be bringing you all sorts of different content. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll see you then.